Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Ethicast, a special episode at the end of day one, Bella Day, of the 14th Annual Global Ethics Summit, coming to you live from Atlanta, Georgia. I apologize for that. I'm going to stop right now. This is a blooper in real time. So one of the things we're doing is we are broadcasting to both the lobby and to LinkedIn and to YouTube. And this creates issues of all kinds from the technical side. So I'm going to pause that. And now we're back live. Sorry about that, everybody. So we're just coming right out of the Bella Impact Awards, where we acknowledge the best and brightest of the Bella community. A wonderful time to kind of acknowledge those who've been really giving of themselves to make the Bella community what it is. And it's a great acknowledgement that we see there. And before that, we had our final keynote of the day, which is an anti-harassment conversation with Ali Call, president and co-founder of the Purple Campaign, Carrie Bible, director of employee relations and head of investigations at Gilead, and Deanna Slocum, senior director of ethics compliance programs at Uber. And they were talking about the challenges and successes that they have experienced on the road to creating workspaces that are safe, welcoming, and committing to a culture of safety and anti-harassment. And really what they were talking a lot about that I pulled away was a real focus on transparency and certainty at a time when employees are probably at the lowest point in their career and dealing with issues of great importance and sensitivity, and all the intricacies that go into handling those in a way that makes sure that the outcome is understood, the ground rules are established well, but more importantly, there's a sense of certainty about the process, and that creates a baseline level of trust that therefore makes every other outcome that we're looking for an achievable one. So it's a really great conversation. But as we get to the end of the first day of the Global Ethics Summit, we're going to do a quick recap of all that we've had here today. I've been with my colleague, R.T. Maharaj, during the course of the day. And we've been reporting on some of the amazing sessions that have been going on from the very beginning all the way to the end. We began with the Voice of Bella, the state of the profession, a fantastic panel discussion in which it was run by Catherine Hanaway from Hush Blackwell, and really talked about everybody's origin stories, how they got to be there where they are, and really talking about their continuous improvement. How do they improve their skill set in the modern compliance and ethics environment? And there we learned a couple of great takeaways. Somebody had referred to themselves as the Chief Common Sense Officer, which quickly became the highest liked comment of the day in our chat room. They also talked about how it's important to be acutely averse to the notion of compliance as a police department or the Department of No. It's a common refrain we've heard before, but it's great to see it again put forth in such a pointed manner, and really also as a way to take that sentiment and translate that into a desire to lean in to the inherent desire for businesses to succeed, achieve, and even to push boundaries, and how that is the common boundary now of a great compliance department. Fascinating stuff. And then we talked about the 4 C's: curiosity, courage, creativity, and credibility as the cardinal virtues of the modern chief compliance and ethics officer. Fantastic stuff there. We'd also moved on to notions such as not being distracted by every rabbit hole that you're going to work on. You can't fix every single problem, and if you try, you're going to fix none of them. So it's a notion of asking yourself, what is your goal, and what is the deliverable of your program, of your initiative, of your current effort? And then the final key takeaway from that was finding who is interested in building a relationship with you internally and making that happen. You can make that happen, get that internal buy-in from allies across the organization, and you can get what our moderator called auto-magical results. So a fantastic bit. We then moved on to a first look at the world's most ethical companies data, which Neil Thurston had given us a deep dive into some fantastic high-level data bullet points from honorees of this year's World's Most Ethical Companies. The World's Most Ethical Companies, of course, really leans upon the ethics quotient, a more than 200-point questionnaire that goes deep into the details of a applicant's ethics compliance program. And from that, we determined some amazing points of data that kind of unify what the honorees are all about, but also point to some of the great strengths and challenges and opportunities that still exist for high top-level ethics compliance programs. And some of those data points are really quite fascinating. One of the ones that really got a lot of attention was the fact of the world's most ethical companies honorees this year, 93% of them, the ethics and compliance department has some sort of meaningful input on developing strategic business initiatives. And that's a huge point. We talk often about how ethics and compliance isn't just a preventative measure, it's a value creator. And this is a great way where we can see how the top flight organizations that really commit to this, E&C has a meaningful seat at the table at the very beginning of business strategy. And that was a really cool thing to see. The other thing that we pulled out from that particular session I thought was quite fascinating was how 38% of honorees, only 38%, were disclosing trends in ethics as it concerned their ESG reports. And this is a common theme we've gone back to about how ESG is so critical for so many organizations, and yet ESG reporting is still in kind of a nascent, almost protean and constantly evolving state. The ground rules for ESG reporting have not yet been firmly established, and so as a result, it gives some room for critics of ESG to point to, well, what are things we're actually measuring? What is ESG supposed to be? So that trends disclosure was an interesting point in terms of, well, who is doing what on ESG and what's the commonality we're going to see. Now, there is a good point to all this as well, because later in this particular session, Neil had brought up the fact that 90% honoree companies were referencing GRI framework as part of their ESG reporting, and that's up it's up from 72% in 2021. So from 2021, we went from 72% to 2023, it went to 90%. That's a massive jump, and just shows just how much GRI framework is becoming a real central piece of ESG reporting and is starting to deliver that sense of certainty and replicated results that we need to see in ESG reporting. So it was a fantastic session there. From there, we moved on to a really terrific keynote by Julianne Crommett, CEO and founder of Collective Moxie, on the power of inclusive storytelling. Now, Julianne, she had captivated the audience, of course, talking about her backstory and her history in entertainment and media, doing a lot of work with Disney and doing some work on some major blockbuster movies, from Coco to Encanto to Black Panther to the recent Predator sequel, Prey, and coming at that from the point of view of helping to make sure that these stories have inclusivity built into their DNA from the very beginning, from the very point of inception, to make sure that damaging stereotypes are not part of the story writing process and the story creation process, but also so that no door is left unopened as far as making a story available, accessible to the widest possible audience. And Julianne went deep into that. She ran a case study about the remake of Aladdin, about how the inclusivity was handled there. And it was a remarkable conversation that kind of brought us to the notion that this work is hard to do. It's difficult. It requires a lot of stakeholders, it requires a lot of effort. But when it's done properly, when it's done with authenticity, it not only creates better art, it creates products that are more saleable to a larger audience and therefore more economically viable. And I think when she talked about all this, it was a matter of how do you address unconscious bias in storytelling. And she was using it through the lens of Hollywood storytelling. But at Ethisphere, we've talked about unconscious bias quite a lot in our various workshops and surveys. And unconscious bias is a millstone around the neck of a great compliance and ethics department. You can't have a great culture if you can't detect, acknowledge, and address the unconscious bias that exists within your culture. And here's the thing, everybody. Unconscious bias is everywhere. It's in everyone. It's up to us to acknowledge it and to address it. The good point is, you can see it, you can address it, it's not too late. So Julianne Crommett had offered a fantastic session there. She was kind enough to sit with me for a follow-on interview afterwards. We've recorded that. That will be on our YouTube channel after GES, so make sure to look for that as well. So that brings us to the end of the day. I would direct you to what's in store for tomorrow as well. Tomorrow morning, we get started at day 2 of the Global Ethics Summit at 8:30 in the morning for networking sessions. So come on down and meet with your peers. At 9:30, the actual sessions begin. We'll have our opening remarks with Ethisphere's CEO, Erica Salmon Byrne. She opens the second day of the Global Ethics Summit. And then from there, we have a couple sessions as well as icebreakers and whatnot. We have a session called Unlock Potential with the Second City. If you've not seen the performers from the Second City before, as they do an interactive ice-breaking exercise, you're in for a treat. They are fantastic at what they do. They're just extremely entertaining, informative, and compelling. And then beyond that, we'll have an additional deep dive into more Ethisphere data from the 2023 World's Most Ethical Companies. And then at 10:30, I will be taking the stage to do a special Ethicast live interview where I'll be speaking with Erica Salmon Byrne, of course, our CEO, President Andrew Neblett, and SVP and Deputy General Counsel Leslie Benton, as we discuss this thing you may have heard us mention before, the ethics economy. What exactly is the ethics economy? What are the things that define it? And most importantly, how can you use it to your advantage to make your organization bigger, better, faster, and more sustainable? So that's just a snippet of what we have in store for tomorrow. It's going to be an action-packed day. Please join us. We can't wait to see you there. And it's going to be great for everyone. So with that, I'm going to sign off and leave you to enjoy the Bella networking that's going on and the dinner that's going to be upstairs momentarily. So it's been great first day. The chat log has been very, very lively. We really appreciate all the interactivity we've seen there, all the commentary, all the great questions that have been asked. We want you to keep that up as we go into sessions tomorrow. And stay tuned. I'm Bill Coffin. This has been the Ethicast, the end of Global Ethics Summit Day 1, Bella Day. We'll see you tomorrow.